Rachel K. Good evening, good evening, good evening. If you are joining us live, please wave at us. It's your girl, Rachel K. TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. It is Friday. It's weekend. It's time to rest. Come on, guys. It's time to rest. I hope you had a great week. It's been an amazing week for me right here. And I hope it's been amazing for you. Please let your friends know we are live. Let them know Ladies with Stories is live and our guest is right here in the studio and we are ready to go. So if you're here, please drop a comment. Let me know where you're viewing from so we could say hi to the people in your vicinity. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. And if you are new, this is Ladies with Stories. This is a platform where we share stories of women across the globe with the aim of inspiring and empowering women to succeed. We believe in the transformational powers of stories. We have seen it, we have heard, and we have evidence of how it has transformed lives of many around us. And we will keep sharing, we'll keep sharing and sharing and sharing until women succeed globally. So please drop a comment if you're here. Let people know we are live. Our guest is right in the studio and we are ready to go. Last week we had Liz share her story with us. It was an amazing story. No, sorry, 2 weeks ago. It was an amazing story. She shared her journey through burnouts, through divorce, and having to rebrand herself again. And today we're excited about the story we have because we know there's always going to be a message for someone out there who will want to learn something, who needs a shoulder to cry on, or who needs to know that somebody has gone through same thing you're going through or you had experienced before. And when we come together to share stories like this, we just help ourselves to learn because yes, you could pick up what the other person did. What did they do right? Where did they miss it? Or what are you missing? And then you put it in your own and you see how things are just going to work out fine. Hi, Deborah. Good evening. How are you? Good to see you. Please let people know we are live and we're just going to wait when it's 7:05. We're just bringing our guest to start her story. I hope you're ready for today because I am so ready. And guess what? It's Mother's Day on Sunday, and we've been talking about motherhood and how motherhood has been shaping and reshaping people. And, just to encourage one woman out there that you are seen, you are loved, and it's okay to rest because sometimes motherhood can be tiring. You have so much responsibilities that you forget yourself in between it. But, just find time to rest and enjoy the celebrations, the chocolates, the gift, the flowers that you deserve it. So enjoy it on Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to you in advance. We hope you have the best Mother's Day ever. Please let your friends know we are live. Let your friends know we are live. We start at 7:05. We bring our guests on at 7:05. So let them know. Let them know. Please share the link. Let people know we are live. Who has wedding plans this weekend? Any plan for wedding this weekend? Okay. All right, so it's 7:05 and we are ready to bring up our guest and I'm super excited about our guest today. And I'm going to read her bio quickly and then we bring her up on the screen. So our guest for today is Eve Mason. Eve Mason is a hairdresser with 26 years experience, dedicated to helping people feel confident and seen. Beyond her career, she is a survivor of domestic abuse, including coercive control and stalking. Eve now uses her voice to stand in strength, sharing her story to support and empower other women to reclaim theirs. And that is the moment we all live for, to ensure that we are making impact. With a round of applause, please make welcome our guest tonight. Yay! Nice to see you.
I can't hear you.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I think I muted your side. Sorry about that. I read your biography and I was so excited to bring you back on, but we need to upload that again so you can hear that.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Oh, there we go. Oh, I can hear now.
All right, then. Thank you so much.
No, I can't hear. I can't hear when you're speaking.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. You hear that when you go back to the recap. All right. But you can hear me now properly, right? Can you hear
what
me?
to do? I can't hear you at all.
Really? Okay, give me a moment. What about now? Can you hear me?
Right, I'm all on. Mic's on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I don't know what to do.
Would you want to go out and come back? Let me send you a message. All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear now. Yes, we're in.
All right, thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I had read your biography and I was so excited. And today, while I was doing my hair, I was combing it and it was so hard because I'd loosened it earlier, and that's something with natural hair like ours. So when you leave it for a long time and air gets into it, it becomes very hard for you to comb it normally. And I was like, oh my God, my hair wants to mess me up. I'm going to be in front of a hairdresser with 26 years experience. Come on.
No judgment this end. No judgment at all.
It's nice having you. Thank you so much for agreeing to share your story on our platform. We're so excited to have you tonight, and we believe that your story has the power to shape at least one woman, of which we believe there are more than one people, or there's more than a person here. So we know your story is going to shape many people. And at this moment, I just want to say, feel free to share your story. Take us along the story.
Lovely. Thank you for having me today. It means quite a lot to me to be able to share my story. I'm going to read my story because there's a lot to it and it's a bit easier for me if I sort of read. So bear with me. I'll try and look at the camera as much as I can.
That's fine.
So, hello, my name is Eve. I'm a hairdresser from Northampton. I'm a mother, I'm a sister, and I'm a daughter. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here because I survived domestic abuse. I survived coercive control and stalking, and I'm going to share my story with you, not because it's easy, but because it matters. Because if you're listening to this and even a small part of my story feels familiar, then maybe it could help you or someone you know to see something more clearly, or maybe it could help you feel less alone. In March 2018, I met a man. He was charming, funny, attractive, the kind of man people instantly warmed to. The kind of man your friends liked, your family trusted. He sold me the dream. He wanted children, he wanted a wife, he wanted a family unit. All the things I had dreamed of having too. He would buy me flowers, take me for dinner, treat me to lavish gifts. It didn't take long for me to fall in love with him. But what I didn't know then, what no one could see, was that this man that I fell in love with wasn't real. And these wonderful traits were in fact love bombing. This is often the first stages of abuse. By January 2019, I fell pregnant. This should have been one of the happiest times of my life, but instead, it was the beginning of everything changing. Not suddenly, not in a way that you can point to. There wasn't a moment where I thought, this is abuse. because that's not how it works. It started quietly, subtly, almost invisibly. It began with words, little comments, small criticisms, nothing big enough to alarm you on its own. But over time, those words, they chip away at you, at your confidence, at your identity, at who you are, until one day you don't recognise yourself anymore. I was so miserable, I gained 6 stone during my pregnancy. So when he told me that I would never get anyone better than him, I believed it. I started questioning everything. Am I too sensitive? Am I overreacting? Is this my fault? My version of reality became something I questioned. That is gaslighting. Then came the loneliness. He'd stay out late, sometimes all night, and I'd be there, pregnant, alone, waiting, looking at my phone, waiting for a text or call, wondering why I wasn't enough. Then we moved. We moved house to a quiet village, away from everyone I knew, my friends, my support system, and slowly he became the only person in my world. And if I tried to see anyone else, maybe organise a night out with the girls, I wasn't shouted at, I wasn't hit, I was ignored. Silence. Cold, calculated, deliberate silence. Eventually, I learned that it was easier to just not go out at all, not to see people, not to make plans. And without even realising it, I became isolated. Then came the control. At first, it sounded normal. Where are you? Who are you with? What time will you be home? I would be doing something as simple as the food shop, and these questions would make me feel so uneasy, like I needed to rush home. But they weren't questions, they were monitoring, tracking. Phone calls became FaceTime calls, so he could see where I was and who I was with. Then came the fear. Not physical violence, but the threat of it. Phones smashed, walls punched, objects thrown, driving like a maniac. That tension in the air where you feel like something worse could happen at any moment. That is intimidation. Then came the financial abuse. Money that should have paid bills went on drugs, alcohol, gambling, things that it shouldn't have gone on. I was heavily pregnant. I couldn't work. I had nothing of my own. I had no income. And every day I lived with the fear of not knowing if we could even keep a roof over our heads. The hardest part of all of that, it all happened behind closed doors. To everyone else, he was still charming, still perfect. He even proposed to me. So who would believe me? Because from the outside, it looked like we were a perfect family. In September, my daughter was born. That should have been magical, but it became the darkest time of my life. The day I gave birth, I looked into my daughter's eyes and I knew that something had to change. I had complications after her birth. I got a 14-inch blood clot, which got infected, and I had to be rushed down to theatre to reoperate on me to remove the clot and 4 inches of flesh that had been eaten away by the infection. When I came round in theatre, they took me through to the recovery suite. He wasn't there. He wasn't supporting me. He was found in a casino. It was at that moment I realised something devastating. I was raising my daughter alone, even though she had a father. Every single night feed, me. Every sleepless night, me. I even slept on the sofa some nights because his sleep mattered more than mine. I was exhausted, completely drained, and still no one noticed. I felt invisible, like I was screaming and no one could hear me. He criticised everything I did, even things that sound ridiculous now, like telling me I couldn't wash clothes properly, I had shrunk them, and that the peas on his plate weren't green enough. When you hear that you're not good enough that many times, you start to believe it. So I stopped washing his clothes. I stopped cooking his dinners. I thought if my efforts weren't to your standard, then do it yourself. But he didn't. He took his clothes to his mum's. She would bring trays of food over for him. I felt like such a failure. That is humiliation. And despite everything, I stayed. Not because I was weak, but because I was conditioned, because I was scared, and because I didn't know how to leave. Because when someone tells you again and again that no one else will ever love you, you start to believe them. I got to the point, which I'm ashamed to say, I didn't even want to be alive anymore. I couldn't see any other way to escape. Until one day, something shifted in me.
Mm.
A fire in my belly ignited. And in July 2019, I chose me. I chose my daughter, and I decided to leave him. But leaving isn't simple. Men like this don't just let you go.
Yep.
So I planned quietly, carefully for 6 months. My emergency escape bag was packed. Just when I thought it was safe enough to make the move, COVID hit. My heart sank. I was trapped with him again. But for the first time, something worked in my favour. He was an addict. He needed money. He took a job that meant that he couldn't come home. So he moved out. He left. Even though the world was in lockdown, I had never felt more free. For the first time in so long, I could breathe. 6 months passed, 6 months of space, 6 months of clarity, 6 months of slowly finding myself again. And then the time came where I knew I had to say it. It's over. But even that moment didn't go as I imagined. Yet again, he tried to manipulate my decision. He tried to take his own life whilst holding our daughter in his arms because he knew I was done. He knew I wasn't in love with him, and he knew he had lost me. And he thought that if he scared me enough, that I'd stay. But something had changed in me. The fear was still there, but so was clarity. That's when the police were involved. Not because I had reported the abuse, but because of his suicide attempt. A police officer said something to me that changed everything. This is domestic abuse. Those 4 words hit me harder than anything had ever hit me. Because finally, someone saw it, someone named it, and someone believed me. And in that moment, I realised it wasn't me. It was never me. The arms of the law were firmly wrapped around me, and I left, properly, for good. But that wasn't the end, because in August 2020, it began. The stalking. Messages, hundreds a day, calls, emails, sorry presents left on my door. I would block his number, he would get a new one. He contacted my friends, my family, he followed me, turned up at random places, sat outside my daughter's nursery, circled my work in his van, followed my parents to work. There was nowhere I felt safe. But this time, I wasn't the same woman. I was stronger. I fought back. I documented everything, screenshots, dates, times. I installed cameras, got a dash cam, told my neighbours. I had alarms on every door and window. I built a case over 200 pages long. In June 2023, we went to court. With 8 witnesses, we marched into the courthouse. We was ready for the day I got to tell my truth, to tell everyone what this man had done to me. But at the last moment, he pleaded guilty. No trial, no full story told. I was devastated. But I still had one moment, my victim impact statement. I was asked if I wanted someone else to read it out on my behalf. But after everything that I had been through, there was no way I was giving that moment away. I stood in the box, hands shaking, heart racing, eyes filled with tears. I took 2 deep breaths and I did it. I spoke my truth. When I had finished, I looked up and there he was, looking me straight in the eyes, laughing. In that exact moment, I realised something. He hadn't changed. He never would. But I had. He got 24 months suspended sentence, rehabilitation programs and some measly fines. But I got something more powerful, freedom. I got a 5-year restraining order, a protection order for my child, and full custody of our daughter. For the first time in years, I was safe. But the healing didn't happen overnight. I spent 30 in victim support therapy. I learned some things that helped me forgive myself. I didn't fail by staying. Staying was a trauma response. My brain was trying to protect me. And I left exactly when it was safe to leave. Because the most dangerous time for a woman is when she tries to leave. The statistics of domestic homicide are heartbreaking. Healing isn't easy, and surviving doesn't mean you forget. I still carry it in the way I check the locks at night, in the way that my heart races when an unknown number calls, in the way I look behind me, in the questions that my daughter asks. Why can't I see my daddy?
Mm.
This is a question that no child should ever have to ask, and no mother should ever have to answer. Everything I went through, every moment of fear, every sleepless night, every time I felt like I was disappearing, I would do it all again for her. Whew. Because now my daughter gets to grow up in a home filled with peace, with safety, with real love. She won't grow up watching fear. She'll grow up watching strength. And one day when she's old enough to understand, I will tell her the truth. Not just about what I survived, but about what I chose. I chose her. I chose us. I chose a different life. And that is the most powerful thing I have ever done. He chose to abuse me silently, and I choose to heal loudly.
I like that. I like that line.
I share my story without his permission to help others understand that they are not alone.
Yeah.
Today, my life looks very different. I have lost 7 stone. I have gained my smile back. I'm in a new relationship with a man who listens to my fears, takes time to hear my trauma and my triggers. He understands that it's not easy. I've found a healthy love, the kind of love that respects, protects, and takes accountability, the kind of love I'm proud for my daughter to grow up seeing. I have 3 wonderful stepchildren and a grandson who will all know.
Yeah.
They will all know about boundaries and what non-toxic relationships should look like. I didn't just survive, I rebuilt. I rebuilt my life, I rebuilt my confidence, I rebuilt myself. With time, my heart is healing. And I know this because the abuse isn't the first thing I think about when I wake up anymore. It's just a memory now. I was silenced, I was controlled, I was made to feel worthless, but I am not that woman anymore. I am free, I am strong, and I am still here. And that is something no one will ever take from me again.
Absolutely.
So if you take anything from my story, let it be this. You are not weak for staying. You are not foolish for loving. You are not broken for believing someone can do better. When the time comes, you will leave. Not when someone tells you to, but when you're ready, when it's safe. And when you do, as terrifying as it feels, as much as you feel like everything is falling apart, it's not falling, it's rising. Rising out of abuse, out of sadness, rising out of fear and loneliness, rising into freedom. My name is Eve. I'm a hairdresser from Northampton. I'm a mother, sister, and daughter, and I am now an empowered woman who survived domestic abuse. Thank
you. Thank you so much. It's such a beautiful ending. First kind of like worried and going on, but you said everything we needed to hear. It was just so beautiful, and I'm sorry that you ever had to go through that, because I know love is beautiful. Love is supposed to be perfect, because it is perfect, and having to lose yourself inside of it, it's really bad. But I'm glad you have the glow back, you have the beautiful smile, you are now a grandma. It's more. You didn't lose, you gained more. At this point.
Thank you. I am.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna ask you some few questions from what you had shared, and I'm gonna go back to the very beginning. And I'm sorry if it triggers any emotions in you. Just let me know if you are not okay answering any of that. You make mention that he made some little comments to you at first, which you took as nothing, and at the end of the day, he gaslighted you. Could you tell us those comments so somebody listening today could put our ears down to know when those comments start coming frequently, as little as they are, they can be harmful?
Yeah, it's things like your friends aren't really your friends, and you spend too much time with your family, they don't really care about you. Sort of criticizing what I looked like, what I wore, like I say, criticizing the way I used to cook and clean and things like that. Like I'm a good cleaner, I'm a good cook. No one else has ever complained, but for some reason for him it wasn't good enough. And it just, it made me question, like, oh God, am I naff at doing that? And it wasn't the truth. It was his version of the truth, but it sort of gets drilled into you so much that over time you just have to believe it when someone tells you something over and over again.
Okay.
Really, really kind of small things. It wasn't actually until I was sort of trying to build a case for the coercion and control side of things that I would go back through old text messages. And once someone explains what coercion and control is, and gaslighting, and all the love bombing, and all these things that I learned in the course,
he's like, oh, this is what he was doing.
Yeah, you look back at old messages and voice notes and arguments that you had, and you can pick it to pieces and find all these clear traits of all of these bad behaviors that you just were absolutely blinded by at the time, because you want that person to be good, and you put it down to, oh, he's just having a bad day, or he didn't mean it, and you sort of excuse them because you so desperately want them to be a good person.
Okay, thank you so much. And when you moved away from people, to you, did it feel like you were moving because he wanted you to be away from everyone, or was it just a normal moving for you?
Yeah, at the time we had a couple of houses that were options of different price ranges, and he was very bad with money. So I was looking at the ones that were sort of cheaper monthly rent, things like that. He was going for ones that were well out of our budget. So there was a couple that were a bit more local to my parents and things, but we found this house, and it was further out, and it wasn't really until he sort of was like, yeah, that's the one, let's go and view it. And my mum said to me, like, do you not think that's a bit far away? And I hadn't really thought about it at the time, but I was like, well, it's all right, we all drive, it'll be okay. And she was worried, what if you need police or ambulance or fire, it's going to take them longer to get to you. And she raised her concerns quite early doors. But again, I was just blinded by, oh, I'm moving in with him, it'll be lovely, we're going to have this family home, and it's a little cottage out in the country. So the dream was sold as, living in a nice country house, but the undercurrent of it was that I was far away. Yeah. So no, I didn't notice at the time.
Okay. And your family, when all this was going on, did you have someone you could speak to? Maybe your mom, your siblings, your friends, like from the beginning stage? Did you have anybody to speak with?
Do you know what? Looking back now, I could have spoke to any one of those people. I really could have. I've got a very, very good support network, very loving family. I'm very close with my friends and family. But that was the exact reason why I didn't talk to them. They were too close to home. And I think the shame and the embarrassment that came with it was too much to be that raw and honest with someone that was that close to me. There was also the fear of, if I told them something bad about him and we didn't split up, because I knew that I wasn't splitting up with him at that point. I just had a child. I wasn't going to throw it all away. We were working at things. But if I told them bad things about him and they got their own opinion of him, I look a fool by staying with him. And there was just far too much judgment. They probably wouldn't have judged me looking back now, but at the time I just thought I didn't tell a soul what he was doing. There was a couple of neighbours that maybe heard some arguments and things. We'd been to a couple of parties where he'd said stuff publicly to me, sort of shamed me publicly, which a few people had said, oh, I didn't like how he spoke to you there. And a couple of people sort of noticed it a little bit, but I didn't dare tell anyone. I'm confident, I'm bubbly, loud Eve. I didn't want anyone to think that I was at home crying myself to sleep at night. So yeah, I kept quiet.
But you were crying, you were pushing yourself to sleep by crying.
Yeah.
It happens.
It does.
It does. I can understand that point where you just want to be, you just didn't even know what was going on, to be sincere. You just didn't even understand it.
Yeah.
That's what abuse does. We have a question. How long were you together for?
So I fell pregnant 9 months after we met. So that was quite soon. And we got engaged. I think my daughter was a month or so old. And then she was 6 months old when I started the leaving process. So altogether, it was probably less than 2 years. But it took me probably 5 years, I would say, from start to finish to fully leave him and to have the protection of the police and go through all the court process and stuff. I would say it was a 5-year journey.
Okay, 5 years journey. And you mentioned a sudden realization of who you were that night, and you tell yourself, Eve, how can I be this person? And
Yeah.
this person is treating me this way. What did you think, Brad, about the realization?
I don't even know what it was, that just something inside me was like, what the hell is going on? How is this my life?
Mm,
I come from like a 2.4 family, a mum and dad that have been happily married for 40 odd years. Um, I wasn't built for that life. I never deserved it. And I'd got myself into such a hole that I didn't even see it. And it took him to really, I think it was when my daughter was born, and I realised that even that didn't shake his bad behaviour. If he wasn't going to do it for his firstborn child, he wouldn't do it for anyone. And there was no way I could have her growing up thinking that that was how a man should treat a woman. And the older she got, the more she would hear, the more she would see, and the more it would be an inbuilt mechanism for her that I couldn't even risk it. And we used to have rows and things, and he'd shout. And I remember my daughter used to cry really, really loud whenever he shouted. Like she was almost trying to be louder than his shout. And she was
yeah.
like, 6 months old, and it was triggering her already. So yeah, something, just a fire ignited in my tummy. And I was like, no, that's it. This has got to end. But obviously, like I said, I couldn't just go, that's it, we're over, get out. Like, it was way too dangerous to do that. So I had to sit on it for months. And I told my mum, she was begging me to leave him for months and months and months. And I had to just keep saying to her, Mum, don't worry, I've got a plan. I've got a plan. Just bear with me. I've got a plan. Just sit back, like play the game for a little bit longer. And I had to fake it. I had to still tell him that I loved him. I had to still sleep in a bed next to him and go to family birthday parties and pretend that everything was okay, just to be safe. But behind closed doors, I was getting things sorted. I was getting finances in place, somewhere else to live. I was prepping the grounds to be able to leave. And yes, slowly I did.
In Africa, or in Nigeria, where I grew up, this point you just mentioned, we're gonna put our hands on our head and say, "Fear woman," because that was just a wise move. Like, having to disconnect and having a strategy on ground, a plan, which I think is the problem. Most women don't really sit to understand, what is the plan. If I leave, where am I going to, what am I going to do at this point? And that was so beautiful and clever. Like, it's so clever. Going forward again, or going back to your biography, you had 26 years of experience in making women sit in hairdressing, which means, you were making them to be seen and confident in themselves. So how did that play along for you? What was that picture for you? Were you able to still do hair for people? And when you looked at yourself in the mirror, what did you see?
I think there was a good handful of my customers that had been with me for years, from a teen when I first started doing hairdressing, and they'd been through all the journeys that I've been through. And there was more than one customer that said to me, your sparkle's gone. Like, what's going on at home? Something's not right. You're not yourself anymore. You're like a shell of who you used to be. And I used to blame it on, I'm a mum and I'm tired and things like that. But people had noticed I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't have the effort. I was exhausted mentally, physically. It didn't matter what I wore to work or if my hair was done. And the conversations that I would have with customers, they were just sadder. There was just a lot of negativity. And whenever they'd say to me, like, how is stuff and how's things, like, I didn't really have much to say because my world was so small. So my engagement with my customers was definitely harder. Harder to be happy for them as well when they're telling me they've got engaged or their partner's taking them here, or I'd sort of be envious of what they had and also think, is it all real? Because I tell people that. Are they telling the truth? You see these people on Facebook with the perfect social media profile, yet behind closed doors it's often not the truth at all. So I was starting to question other people's realities as well as my own. It almost felt like I was going insane for quite a long time. But those customers, became friends of mine, and they reached out to me sometimes, sent me private messages and things. And certainly when I voiced what was going on and when the police were involved and it did all come to light publicly, they were the first ones supporting me, sending me messages and really having really good deep conversations in my chair after that. And they helped me through some really tough times. Really good to get so many different people's opinions and experiences in your chair. So it actually worked in my benefit later down the line. And I'm now using that. I've now got people in my chair that are going through troubles that I'm now helping back. So it's really nice spotting signs in like early relationships of customers that have got new boyfriends, and they'll tell me a little snippet and I'm like, that's a bit of a red flag. Be careful with that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you the next question. If you missed it at any point, if going, like looking back at your story, do you think you missed it up? Maybe at the relationship stage, there was some things you ignored, the red flags, or did he cover it up so perfectly well that you didn't notice anything?
Both. He covered it really well, but once it all came out and I looked back, I ignored a lot. I was 33 when I had my first child. I'd had some miscarriages previously in other relationships, and like I said, I come from a 2.4 family, a typical traditional family, and I just thought that by 33 I would be married with 2 kids and a dog, and I had this idyllic view of what my life would be, and the time was ticking by without that. And I think, if I'm honest, I think I just got desperate. You know, this one will do. I need to get this going and start a family. So, you know, once I was pregnant, I saw some signs, but I was like, well, I've got to put up with this now. The older you get, you know, you're on that shelf for so long that you think, well, I've got to sort of take what's left. So I think I was more accepting of it because I so desperately wanted that family dynamic that I thought, if I just put up with that and ignore that, it's okay because we've still got this family. So yeah, I should have seen signs and I should have left earlier, but there was also no point in which I could have left any earlier without it being really unsafe. So it's one of those shoulda, woulda, coulda moments where I wished I'd have left sooner. But I definitely left when it was the safest for me. I'm still alive. I didn't get violently attacked. I didn't get killed. I didn't kill myself. You know, these things that happen when people try and leave. So I did manage to leave as safely as possible. And had I have not picked the time right, I may not have been in that position. I may not have been sat here now.
Absolutely. That's good. Picking the right time. Like, it's still part of the plan. So you got your plan right. That was good enough. And did you ever have fears of societal stigma, and just basically, did you ever have fears for societal stigma, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, it's like I say, it's the shame that comes along with it. I think as well that the first domestic abuse therapy group that I went to, I had this vision in my mind of what all these women would look like in that room. And it's awful to stereotype, because in the world we live in now, it's a ridiculous thing to even think it still happens. But even as open-minded as I am, I had this stereotype of, I thought it would be like a chavvy young girl with, you know, silly big earrings and a bit, you know, I just had this vision of what I thought the women would be. And I walked into this room and there was maybe 8 women in there. Classy women, young women, old women, fat, thin, black, white. There was absolutely no mold of what this woman should look like. And it was really quite enlightening. In fact, I think the one that shocked me the most, there was one lady that must have been in her 60s, maybe even 70s. And I just thought, my God, how has it happened to someone her age? And then another young girl that came in that was, I mean, lucky if she was 20 years old. She was so frail and vulnerable looking. I thought, oh, poor girl. We were all just as poor girl as each other in there. We'd all been through the same, but we were 8 completely different women from completely different backgrounds and lives and worlds, yet we'd all gone through the exact same thing. And I think the stigma of what people think an abuse victim looks like could not be further from the truth. It can happen to absolutely anyone. And I am confident, I am educated, I am outspoken, and to be honest, that was probably one of the things that made it even more embarrassing for me to have it, because it's like, oh God, how did she not see that happen?
Yeah, how did she? Yeah.
Yeah, why didn't she leave sooner? Why didn't she tell someone? Like, the judgment that is forced onto the victims of is so unfair. But it happens, and it still happens to this day. So this sort of awareness, I believe, will be helpful to make people realise that it can happen to their mums, their sisters, their daughters, their brothers. You know, it's not even just women. No one is exempt from this behaviour, and it hoodwinked me. I had no idea. I just thought I had a crappy boyfriend, and it took a police officer to tell me that it was domestic abuse for me to actually realise.
Yeah. It could just be anyone. It could be anyone. It could be anyone. And there, there's no face to it. Like, even if you see people working on the street, some are well looking, but back home, there are so many things going wrong. And getting support, the right support, is definitely necessary. And how did you end up building a healthy self-esteem? This is you sitting down, talking so pretty, looking all glammed and beautiful. How did that come about? How did the glow, the spark, how did it come back?
It took time. The domestic abuse support groups were amazing. They were 10 weeks at a time, and I did 3 separate groups. So one was about domestic abuse education around it, and about things like the traits of abusers, how to spot it, what to do, how to get safety plans in place, things like that. That first group, they gave me a book. I believe it was called Living with the Dominator. I think you can purchase it online, but they gave us this book in the group. I actually ended up gifting that book on, and I've since found out I've actually found someone that's the 4th person to have my book that approached me to say thank you. So it's been gifted on numerous times to more women as well. And that first group taught me a lot. It took a lot of the guilt off of me, because I victim blamed myself. I should have seen it. I should have left. I should have this. I should have that. I shouldn't have done anything. That man should have done something. He should have sorted his behaviours out. He should have gone to therapy or addressed his issues that made him act that way. It was never anything to do with me or my fault. So that group definitely helped me get a bit of fire and a bit more confidence back that it wasn't my fault. And then the second group was about breaking the cycle. So it was about how to recognise the traits in someone new. And then I did a third group, which was, I think it was called Staying Free. And it was, again, more to do with post-separation and how to stay free from abuse later down the line. But part of my nature and who I am as a person, something that I lost when I was at my worst, was that I'm very giving, and I like things to be fair. And I used a lot of facilities, a lot of charities and companies that helped me along my journey. And I feel I want to give back. Now that I'm at a good position, I've got learnt experience. If I can give back even just information that can help just one person like I needed help, then I've paid my bill. And it sits better in my heart to know that I've given back something that I once needed myself. So that's really important to me.
And that makes sense. The theme for the International Women's Day this year was Give to Gain. And, it still emphasizes on the fact that we need to give out. As women, we need to give support. We could give information, so many things we can give just to ensure the wider women body, we all grow together. So let's wrap up this section with love. You found love. How did that happen? Did you have to open up to him? Was he in the picture somehow along the line, or was it after? At what point did it happen?
Do you know what? He was a complete stranger. I ended up going on a dating website. I waited about 2 years after leaving my abuser just to heal my heart. I didn't feel that I could ask for the best version of a man when I couldn't give the best version of me back. So I bided my time for 2 years, and then I went on a dating app and I swiped a couple. I was really picky because obviously my standards now are gone way higher. You got to have some things on that tick list being ticked off now. He was the first person that I swiped to. We messaged each other. An hour later, I deleted the app. 3 days later, we went on a date.
Woo!
Yeah, our second date, he flew me to Dublin for a night out. It was amazing. But I do believe he was a right time, right place, right time person. So I'm very lucky that he sort of fell in my lap quite easily, I guess. But I did say to him, I think it was about 2 weeks into our relationship, I had to tell him about my past. People ask, oh, so why did you split up with your ex? So I was quite honest, and I did say, I also said to him that unfortunately I will be doing a Clare's Law. I will be getting a Clare's Law on you, which I don't know if your listeners know about Clare's Law, but it's where you can ask the police for information on a new partner. And if there's any domestic abuse or violent charges, the police will disclose that to you. So that was really important for me because obviously I had a child that I needed to protect. So I needed to know that information. So I told him that I'd be doing it. He was absolutely fine with that. Very supportive, actually. Rang me straight after and was like, what did they say? So, it worked quite positively for us. There was nothing they told me that, I didn't already know. And our trust was really built from, good 2 weeks in. But we have had our difficulties. I've got trauma responses and triggers. And I've voiced this to him as well. I don't know all my triggers. Until they come at me, I don't know them. It can be something as simple as an aftershave that smells like my ex, or a door that slams a bit louder than it should have and it could shock me. Silly things I would never in a million years think would trigger me that can trigger me. And I've not learned all my triggers yet. So I have to be really good with communication with him and make sure that we're having lots of conversations around it, and we're both open and honest with each other. And he's really supportive, actually. And his view on my ex-partner is very protective. Sometimes maybe a little bit too. I wouldn't like them to meet in the street, put it that way. But I love that. I love that he's supportive of me in that way, and that he's protective of me and my child. He's become a wonderful stepfather to my daughter, and I couldn't be happier for her to grow up with such a good-hearted family man in her life. So yeah, it's worked out better for me.
At this point, you're gonna say you got this one right.
Hopefully, yes. Yeah, I've got a good feeling of it. We got engaged.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, hopefully this is my lifelong forever after. I've got a really good feeling about it, and yeah, lots of positivity. But it's a continual struggle. It's good communication. Telling him how I feel about certain things and him being supportive. It's not easy. But yeah, we're getting there.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been an amazing time with you. And before we wrap it up, I will want you to give maybe a 10 years younger version of you an advice. She's like, oh, Eve, I want to get married. I found this boyfriend. What would that advice be to her right now?
Do you know what? My 10-year-old self was so naive and so innocent, and it's one of those things that everything happens the way it is meant to happen. I would never want her to go through what I went through, but I wouldn't be who I am now had I have not gone through it. So keep in there, keep strong, keep your positive mind and your pure heart. Don't let anyone try and tell you that you're not good enough, because 10-year-old Eve is absolutely perfect just the way she is. And I think that's, life will be what it is, but you're tough enough. You're tough enough to get through it.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It's been great having you. Your story is quite inspiring. We love the beautiful ending, that there is always love again coming and calling. So whoever has gone through or is going through this phase, you could look at Eve and be like, if Eve can find love again, you can also find love. You can also find love again. And, you can do all the background checks you need to do. Just, be open, be sincere, do the background check. Don't ignore any red flag. Thank you so much, Eve. It's been beautiful having you. We look forward to more conversations with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining on tonight's edition or episode of Lost. It's been an amazing time listening to Eve share her love story through divorce and rebranding and finding love again. Her sparkle is right back. She is glowing. She's all pretty. And this is for you going through same or similar situation, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how dark it looks, there is always going to be hope. Don't give up on yourself. Don't just die. Don't die. We used to say leave so you can leave to tell the story. When it's wrong, find people you can speak with. Your families, you can speak with them. And if you feel they may not understand you, you have church members, you have neighbors. Sometimes you can just go on the street and scream. Find somebody and be like, yo, I'm going through something and I want to share. There are people willing to listen to you. And I hope you learned something that, staying quiet doesn't mean you're winning sometimes. Do your strategic plan and exit when you need to exit. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us on tonight's edition of Ladies with Stories. We look forward to bringing you another story on the 27th of May. Yeah, we should have another story on the 27th of May and then the 5th of June. And yes, it's 7 days to my birthday. You guys can start sending your gifts now. And thank you so much, guys, for being here tonight. Do have a beautiful night rest. And TGIF, have a beautiful weekend, guys. Bye.